Hi, this video is a part of Deep Learning with TensorFlow playlist. In this playlist, I quickly explain the logic and implementation of deep learning algorithms and applications using TensorFlow. Note that I do not code along, rather I make use of pen for explaining the tricky parts of code so that you people can read the notebooks and Python files and re-implement them yourself. Code files for each of the video will be given in the description. So I'm expecting my audience to have good understanding of deep learning and they just need little hints for implementation of deep learning algorithms using TensorFlow. In this video, we will talk about ResNet-50 implementation from scratch using TensorFlow. ResNet-50 is a special kind of convolutional neural network as a special architecture of a convolutional neural network in which there are skip connections. What is the architecture, how it looks, and how will we implement that in TensorFlow? Let's go to the whiteboard to understand the idea and then to the notebook to implement it in Python. Okay, so we are dealing here with ResNet-50. ResNet-50 is a special kind of convolutional neural network. But before going into the details of convolutional neural network, let me remind you that neural network is a type of network in which we are having input layers, hidden layers, output layer, and all of these are densely connected. For that reason, these layers are called dense layers. And we go forward by linearly combining all these layers, the weights of these layers with the input of the previous layer, and then we apply the activation function. So that is the output of this layer, and this output of this layer will be the input of this previous layer. So in a way, we have weights and these activation functions, and at the final stage we have output. In the output we calculate error, and based on the error we calculate the gradients using a backpropagation algorithm. So in backward pass, what we do is we adjust weights. So this is how neural networks work. Now, the difference in convolutional neural network is that instead of these dense layer, we have convolutional layers and pooling layers. These are special kind of layers which actually which are very efficient specifically on images data, because in images data we have that special kind of a structure where individual pixels are not as much important as a combination of pixels. So a simple feed-forward neural network will consider each of single pixel as a single feature, which is wrong, because individually they might mislead the network. So in convolutional neural network, the idea is that to interpret this single black pixel, the adjacent blue pixels play a major vital role. So we also make use of these pixels. So this is a general top level intuition about convolutional neural networks. Okay, so to encode it in graph, what we do is we just define to encode it in TensorFlow. In TensorFlow we create graphs. So then what we do is we just define these input layers given input data. Then we define this convolutional layer function. So all of these are just functions. All of the internal details are actually handled by this TensorFlow. We just have to define the function, pooling layer function, activation function, and then dense layer functions. And finally, after dense layer, we have this error function, and then optimization and hyperparameters are already defined in the network. And then this TensorFlow do automatic differentiation and weight adjustment for us. So our main task, if we look at it, is to define this structure, define this architecture. So defining architecture inside TensorFlow is important. So this architecture will be kind of a graph that how the information will flow from the input to the output, and what are different steps the input data will take, and what are different computations that input data will go through to reach the output. After feed forward, we calculate the error, and using the optimization function and other hyperparameters that we define, the automatic differentiation works. Now let's come to the main point where we have to find out this ResNet architecture. So this single picture is actually representing the ResNet architecture. This is zero padding. This is convolutional layer. This is batch norm layer. This is ReLU layer, and then we have this max pooling layer. This is stage 1, and then at stage 2 we have this conv block. This conv block consists of other layers that I'll be explaining here. So this conv block is explained here. Then we have this identity block, which is also explained in other picture that I'll be explaining. So then at stage 3, so this is stage 2. So at stage 3, we again repeat this conv block and identity block. Stage 4, we have this conv block, then identity block. Stage 5, we have conv block and identity block. And then finally, we have this average pooling. And after average pooling, we have this, we flatten all the array, and then we have simple feed forward or dense layer, which give us the output. Now, the most important part is that we will be defining function for this conv block separately and this identity block separately. And then what we will do is when we will be creating a graph or a sequence for this whole ResNet main path, then we will call these con block functions. Okay. And this identity block function. Now what is inside the con block is kind of a bit complicated. So in con block we have this input x that is coming, and then that input x will be given to this convolutional block con 2D. So this is sorry, this is con 2D layer. It is not a block. This con block is the name is given con. We could give any other name. It has nothing to do with convolutions. And this is identity block. It has nothing to do. Don't confuse this con with the convolutional layer. This is a block containing many layers. This con 2D is a single layer. So con 2D layer, and then we have batch norm layer. This is ReLU layer, and then this ReLU layer will be given again to this con 2D layer, again batch norm, again ReLU. So this is like same thing repeated, then again con 2D and batch norm. But this time, the third time, before giving output of batch norm to the ReLU, what we do is we also give input x into this ReLU function. But this input x is kind of also passed through this con layer and this batch norm layer. So the output of this batch norm and this batch norm will be given, and they both will be added together and will be given to this ReLU function. So whatever the output is, we will return that in the con block. So I think so the whole process is really clear. This is simple going in sequence, but there are two differences. One, that this input x to the con block will be used twice. One initially in this con 2D layer, and another one is in the skip connection. This is what we call skip connection. And this skip connection to this con 2D layer and batch norm layer, and this output will be used as well as this output will be used as well as this output from batch norm will be added together as an input for this ReLU layer. So we are using the output multiple time and input multiple times. So kind of it may seem a bit of difficult, but it is really not difficult once I'll show you the code for it, the function of con block that we have written. Okay, then what we will do is we will look at the identity block. The identity block is again very same: con 2D batch norm ReLU, con 2D batch norm ReLU, con 2D and batch norm. And before ReLU, then what we will do is we will also make the skip connection of x into this batch norm, and we'll add this x here, and after addition, so we will give that to the ReLU. So the difference, the main difference between this identity block and con block is this operation on the skip connection. So we apply this operation of con 2D and batch norm on this skip connection in con block. While in identity block we don't apply any connection. We directly give this input x as a one of the parameter for adding it within the batch norm. Once we add these layers, then we give it as an input, and ReLU activation function just outputs it. I think so this thing is clear. Once that is clear, then the whole encoding part is also easy. Okay, but before that, let me show you one more thing. Previously, in the previous video, I have told you I have explained the sequential API of TensorFlow Keras, TensorFlow.keras, where models are added one upon the other. So input, then con, then pooling, then con. So this is what we have talked in the first video of this playlist. But there is also a functional API which will be used, which is even better to use here. Just let me just clear all this. So the functional API is much better to be used. In functional API, what we do is we are having this input layer, but for this input in functional API, what we have is we have this suppose con layer, but what is the input of that con layer? That will not be automatically inferred from this sequence, that the layer above the con layer will be the input to this con layer, and the output of this con layer will be input to this pooling layer, and the output of this pooling layer will be the input to this con layer. So this is in sequence. So this is pretty much clear. But here we are taking more control, and we are saying that we will define our own input. So if we have to write the same thing here, then what we will do is we will in brackets say that for this con, this input is the input layer is the input for this convolutional layer, and whatever the output is, store it in this out variable. Then again apply pooling based on whatever this output is. Okay, then this output will be input to this pooling layer. Whatever output is, then that output will be input again for this convolutional layer. So once output, so this will go on. These both of the ways of writing code in Python TensorFlow.keras is like right, but this functional API is giving us much more control than sequential API. In sequential API, we are saying that whatever is above this layer, that is an input. The output of that layer is an input to this convolutional layer. So we are losing that control. So if we want to give input to that layer, we have to that layer should be above that convolutional layer. So instead, the functional API is giving us that control. So here for the convolutional layer, we had input as an input layer. The same thing is happening here. Then for pooling layer, whatever the output was of this con layer was an input, the same thing happened here. So this output is coming out of this operation. So I think so this is clear. If this is clear, then the coding part will not take more than 5 minutes even. Okay, so we will begin with importing all the necessary libraries, which includes all the layers that we will be using and all the other necessary libraries that we will be using. So the very important part is this identity block, which I have already explained. So then what we will do is, first of all, we will define the name for each of the layer. As you can see that this identity block is used multiple times in stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and stage 5 of this main ResNet architecture. So we will call each of the con layer and this batch norm and ReLU layer so that it is easier to identify in the later stages. This is just for our own sake. We name it. This is con layer name, and this is batch normalization layer name, and we name it depending on its stage and block. Okay, then we retrieve the filters that are given as an input. We will be using some filters for this convolutional block inside this identity block. Okay, then what we will do is, first of all, we'll make a copy of this X. We'll call that X short because we'll be using this X short later. Then what we will do is this con2D will be given an input of X, as I had already explained in the functional API. This X is an input, and we store the output also in this variable X. Then we again, the output of this con2D operation stored in this X will be given as an input to this batch normalization layer. Once output of this batch normalization layer stored in this X will be given to this activation function. So this is the first component of this identity block, as I had already explained. Then the second component again does the same thing, but in the second component, if you look at it, we have this different filter. The first filter is for the first convolutional layer. This second filter is for the second convolutional layer, and this third filter is for this third convolutional layer. So these are what we will be giving as an input. Okay. Furthermore, there are some other changes, as we could see the names that we are giving to each of these convolutional layer. So these things are really important if you look at it, and we are also using different padding for each of the convolutional layer here. And then in the batch normalization layer, we are giving different names, 2A, 2B, and 2C, of course. So these names will be really helpful once we look at the summary. Okay, then what we will do is, after this convolutional layer, we will look at this third component. And in this identity block, just let me... Okay, in this identity block, we have this third layer where this skip connection comes after this batch normalization layer. So that is what we will be doing. We are having this con2D layer. The result will again be stored in X, and that X will again be given as an input for this batch normalization layer. Once taken output, then what we will do is we will add this output of batch normalization layer and the X shortcut that we had made copy for in this first step. So once we have the output after this activation function, after addition, we give that as an input to the ReLU activation function, and the output will be returned. And then we will implement this convolutional block, which is almost same, except for the first component is almost same, the second component is same, the third component is same, but the shortcut path will also contain this con2D and batch normalization applied on this X shortcut. So this con2D is taking input not this X. Instead, the X shortcut will be the input for this con2D layer, as represented, as shown in this part. Just let me make it clear. So we have here this shortcut coming, this skip connection coming to this ReLU, but before this skip connection is given as an input to this con2D, and the output of con2D is also given as an input to the batch normalization. So this is what is happening. So we have this X shortcut as an input to this con2D and this batch normalization, and after that the output of batch normalization is stored in this X shortcut, and then we add this X and X shortcut. After addition, we give that to the activation function and we return it. So once we have implemented both of these functions, then we just implement the ResNet 50, which is having input layer. This is input layer taking input shape as an input. After input shape, so at the implementation part, we will be given matrix of this shape that we are just showing here. So then what will happen is the output of this input layer will be in this X input. This X input will be given as an input for this zero padding, because if we look at it, at the main ResNet 50 block, we have zero padding. Then we have con, batch, ReLU, max pooling. So this is stage 1, where we have con2D, batch norm, activation, and then max pooling. This is what is happening. and all of the parameters, how many filters are there, how many and what are the size of different filters, and what are the strides, and what kind of pooling that we what kind of initializer that we are using. All of the details you can see it in inside this code. The architecture, if you understand the architecture, then these parameters are widely available, and you can find it out in internet, that what are the Resident 50 different parameters. You just have to input those numbers. So these are not the important parts. The important parts is understanding and creating this architecture. In this stage 2, we have this convolutional block, then identity block, and then again identity block. This is what we had seen here. So in this convolutional block, and this identity block 2 times, cross 2. And in stage 3 we have convolutional block, but the identity block is 3 times. And in stage 4 we have this convolutional block, but this identity block 5 times applied. And then we have convolutional block and this identity block 2 times. So we will just repeat this. Identity block is applied 3 times, and identity block is applied 5 times, and then identity block is applied 2 times along with the convolutional block. And then finally we apply the average pooling, and then we flatten and then we apply the dense layer, and that dense layer, whatever that x is, after applying this dense layer, that is our output layer, because our activation function is softmax. So this is kind of a multi-class classification. Resident 50 will be doing multi-class classification. Finally we create a model, and we input with this x input, and output with this x output, and this will create this function will create a graph, something like that. This complicated graph will be internally created. Now once we have created the graph, as I have already explained, then for implementation purpose we just load the data set, normalize the data set, we convert the data to one-hot encoding because we are dealing with multi-class classification. Then we create the model and we compile it, and we look at the summary of it. In compilation stage we just tell about the optimizer, the loss function, the metric that we want to see. Once we have all that, looking at this summary will make sense, and you can just look at it, whether this summary might be difficult to read. So we can also store this graph, this architecture, and you can find out in Google that how can we do it. And in the future videos I'll also include that part. Okay, so then we fit the data, and while fitting, all of the feed forward and backward propagation and all of the adjustment of weights and differentiation, all of the things will happen automatically. And this is the beauty of TensorFlow. How this difficult ResNet 50 implementation, look at the simplicity with which we have just implemented it, and all of the calculations, we are unaware of it, we have done no mathematics at all, and all of things are done by this TensorFlow. That's why I think I love TensorFlow. I think this whole ResNet 50 implementation is now clear.